Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. I believe this is part 15 and probably the last part I'm going to do on the player's manual from the Red Box 1983 Red Box set classic basic Dungeons and Dragons. Why is that? Because we've covered all the rest of the parts of this book basically, shy of reading through the table insert in the middle. Uh, we have essentially the encounter and combat rules here, which I'm just going to read through with you now. There's also a glossary here on the back, which I guess I haven't read through, and if we have time, I suppose we can. But anything that's in the glossary, we basically have covered as we've been reading through, or is essentially just an English word maybe you're not familiar with for the target audience, right? And in 1983, people did have dictionaries and encyclopedias, or at least access to them at the library. But, looking up a word meant having to go get a book. You couldn't just go and ask your phone. Uh, right, so let's start here at the top. Well, we have some lovely Easily work here and Elmore work here. And they're both quite nice in their own way. You got a halfling running for its life, scared of whatever that is in the background. And here we have Elmore with his classic eye for the female form, doing an archer of some type. Who knows what race this is? It could be an elf under all that black hair. Who knows? But yeah. Moving into the text. So, encounter rules. Surprise. There's more to an encounter than just walking into a room and seeing a monster. For example, you might have sneaked up on the creature, or it may have sneaked up on. I want to say snuck. It says might have sneaked up on you. You let me know. I think I prefer snuck, but you might turn a corner and be completely surprised to find another monster right there. But if the monster is surprised too, then you would both stop for a moment and look at each other. The mutual surprise on both sides could cancel out for no effect except a short delay. For example, let's look back at your very first encounter with the goblin. You entered the room, and the goblin screamed and swung his sword at you, but missed. You didn't get to do anything before he had swung because you were surprised. In the one-player adventure in this booklet, surprise has already been worked out. The description tells you whether you or the monsters or both are surprised. In group adventures, you roll to see who is surprised, and by how much. A six-sided die, 1d6, is rolled for each side, and the results are compared in the following way. You are only surprised if you roll a 1 or a 2. The same applies to the monsters. If both sides are surprised, neither side can move or fight during that round. The mutual surprise cancels out. For the next round, either side might go first, so another roll on 1d6 again is used to decide. This is called rolling for initiative and is described below. So I think it'd be helpful to have, as an example, just some different dice, right? So I'm going to get this little high contrast one here. And I think this one comes over okay in the camera because it's not so shiny as opposed to this one, right? And I do have these pip ones here, but we only need 2 different dice. So I'll just set these out for a little example as we go along, kind of rolling, right? And the old trusty box lid is right here. So if one side surprises the other, the surprised side must wait during the first round, while the other side acts. Those that can act might spend the time attacking, talking, or moving, or even running away. If neither side is surprised, the DM must determine which side acts first in the round by checking initiative. And this is done with dice rolls. Just as, initiative. When an encounter begins, you might act first or the monster might go first. This is called initiative. If you have the initiative, you get to act first before the monster. In all of your group encounters, you will roll to see who has the initiative. The DM rolls 1d6 for the monsters, and one of the players rolls 1d6 for the characters. It doesn't matter which player rolls. Whoever gets the higher number wins the initiative and swings first. When the party has the initiative, the character may use the time to talk, attack, move, fighters moving to the front, for example, or run away. Some monsters will also have similar choices, but most will either talk or attack. Very few monsters run away before anything happens. Maybe you're got a reputation. Who knows? Probably not for level 1, though. If a monster has more than one attack, it will get all of its attacks before yours if it wins the initiative. If each side rolls the same number, then all the action happens at once. The actions are simultaneous, and neither side wins the initiative. Attacking characters can try to hit, but whatever the result, the monsters may also make all of their attacks, even if you kill them with your first attacks. So, I'm going to point out there, that's only during the simultaneous. So remember back in the solo adventure and I was fighting the goblins and I was going to if I kill one, they still get to swing back at me? That's because we weren't having initiative. Now we have initiative states. And if you get to go first, you can kill monsters before they can do anything to you. Certainly an advantage to winning initiative. Let's say the party has the gold die, right? The gold and black. And let's say the monsters have this purple and green one with the gold lettering, right? Simultaneous. We have 2 and 2, right? 4 and 4. Well, these are dramatically different weight dice. I mean, this is literally like some kind of zinc alloy, as I recall the manufacturer said. Well, this is just your typical resin. And yet somehow I'm getting exactly the same numbers. Let's see if we can win the trifecta. 4 and 6. Okay, the monsters win the initiative that time. Right? So, it's as simple as that. Pursuit and evasion. If either side decides to run away, the other side may chase. Time is measured in rounds for as long as the chase occurs. The side running away is evading, and those chasing are in pursuit. You may evade monsters if you can move faster than they can, and if you know where you are going. So once again, a map becomes important. If monsters are catching up, try dropping things. Unintelligent monsters may stop to eat food. Intelligent monsters may stop to pick up treasure. In each case, there's a 50% chance that the monsters will stop or slow down. The DM will make all the necessary rolls. So that's a handy thing for those all those copper pieces you pick up. And have a little small sack on your belt with some 50 copper pieces in there. Chuck that into the hallway. Might be a good little distraction, right? If that's the kind of thing you think about. And maybe if you're a thief or a magic user, maybe you do think about that, right? Order of combat. So, A. Each side rolls for initiative using 1d6, like we were just talking about. After you've determined initiative, B. The side that wins the initiative acts first, assuming we're not simultaneous, right? 1. Morale check. Monsters and non-player characters only, so that's your retainers as well, right? 2, movement, using speed per round, including defensive maneuvers. 3, missile fire combat, so additional. You are going to choose targets, make your hit rolls, and roll damage for those hits. 4, magic spells. You choose targets, make saving throws if necessary, and apply the results immediately. So, do you sleep the enemy monsters? Do you throw a magic missile at one? Did you use a ventriloquism spell to distract that guy so that the thief could maybe backstab somebody? A lot of options there, but basically those all happen before 5 hand-to-hand combat. Choose targets, make your hit rolls, roll the damage for hits. So, again, missile fire, quite useful, so are spells. Having that sling on your cleric or on your thief is very useful. Um, Even if it is just a little something, initially the monsters are not that tough. And eventually, even a little something can break concentration on like a casting of a spell or something. Because spells happen after missiles. C. So we're in the next big section, right? A, B, and then C. The side that loses the initiative then completes all the steps given above and it should say in B, right? Because they're not going to repeat the initiative. They're just going to repeat this step here, right? This whole chain here. D, the DM handles all retreating, surrender, and other special results. So, let's say, for example, the morale check failed on the pack of goblins that you happen to be fighting with, right? Then the retreat happens here at D. Or let's say Bob, the horseman, who you managed to convince for 50 gold to join you and like wield that pole arm at your side, his morale broke because you're not that great of a guy and ain't worth the 50 bucks, right? He retreats, and that's also handled by the DM. Combat sequence. During a battle, the actions do not all happen at once. Your DM will use a checklist to be sure that the battle is run properly. The list is also given here for your reference. This combat sequence includes several optional rules. If you are not using the rule referred to, such as missile fire, simply skip that step. Yes, bows and arrows and slings are an optional rule in the game, technically. Repeat steps A through D as needed until the battle is over. The following rules should not be used by beginners. They may be added after you have played 2 or 3 group games. So this is where we start getting a little more complex, and we're going to introduce ranged weapons, right? Throwing things, shooting arrows, slinging bullets at things, because that's what a sling stone is kind of called, a sling bullet. Tossing flasks of oil and holy water and acid. That's all here, right? And I don't even think they mentioned throwing acid, but hey, modern times, right? So missile weapons. You have learned what to do when your character gets into a fight, but so far you have only used the sword or dagger. These are called hand-to-hand or melee weapons, pronounced melee. See, I'm ahead of you. So, yeah, melee. And I've said melee a bunch of times. Other types called missile weapons, such as bows and arrows, are handled somewhat differently. Excuse me. All of a sudden, my allergies decide, hey, now's a great time for you to have a lot of nasal flow. Oh, sorry, folks. Right. Yeah, missile fire is a type of combat used when the enemy is too far away to fight hand-to-hand. In other words, more than 5 feet away. Missile fire can be affected by distance to the enemy, range, objects that the enemy can hide behind, cover, and the attacker's dexterity score and magic adjustments, if any. Not all missiles are actual weapons. Missile fire rules also apply when characters throw something at a monster, such as oil or holy water. The various types of missile fire you can use and the ranges for them are listed on the missile fire table, which we have right here. There's a crossbow, right? Short range on the crossbow is 60 feet. Maximum medium range, 120. Long range, 180. On a longbow, it's 70, 140, and 210. This kind of range ain't going to come up in the dungeon, but it will certainly come up outside of the dungeon. And we can go through this real quick. Short bow, 50 feet for the short. Sling, 40 feet for the short. Spear, 20 feet. You're literally throwing the spear, right? You're hucking a spear at somebody. Flask of oil or holy water, 10 feet. Hand axe or dagger, so you're going to throw it, at somebody, 10 feet. Medium range, so on the longbow, 140, like I said. Short bow, 100. Sling, 80. Spear, 40. Oil or a flask of holy water, and I'm going to assume acid, 30. Hand axe or dagger, 20. And then long is 180 on the crossbow, 210 on the longbow, 150 on the short bow, 160 on the sling, 60 on the spear, 50 on the, well, I'm just going flask, oil or holy water, acid, and then 30 on a hand axe or dagger. So, you might well throw a hand axe or dagger in a dungeon, but I don't think you're going to be at long range on a bow or even the sling underground. It's just not really going to come up, right? But if you're at short range, you get a +1 to your range to your hit adjustment, and if you're at long range, it's -1. So it's hard to hit that target because it's far away, right? So back to the text. The first group of weapons are devices that fire missiles. The second group are missiles your character throws by hand. Whenever your character buys one of these items, you should make a note of the ranges. For example, a longbow should be listed as 70, 140, 210, the longest distance it can shoot in each range category. Device. A missile fire device is a weapon that fires missiles, such as a bow or crossbow. Devices cannot be used in hand-to-hand combat or against targets within 5 feet. So, like if something is in your face, like literally right here, it might be a little hard, for you to hit it with the bow and arrow, right? It might be interfering with your aim if it's up close like this. Now, if it's back over here, yeah, go ahead and shoot it. But if it's up here like this, no. And yes, I still haven't fixed that figurine. So, yeah. A crossbow, or similar to normal bow, long or short, is similar to a normal bow, long or short, but is held horizontal and shot by pulling a trigger, which releases the string. If you need to know what a crossbow looks like, you can easily look up one on the internet, but basically it's a mechanical device. A sling is a leather pocket with long strings. The user holds the strings and puts a stone in the pocket. The stone is thrown by swinging it around and releasing one string at the right time. A sling is the only missile weapon usable by clerics. Thrown weapons. A spear, dagger, or hand axe may be either thrown or held. They are good weapons to use when the monsters are nearby, as characters can use any thrown weapon in hand-to-hand combat. If the weapon is not thrown, strength bonuses are used instead of if the weapon is not thrown, strength bonuses are used instead of dexterity, and no adjustments are made for range or cover. A dagger or hand axe may be thrown at an opponent within range. Each spins in the air, striking with the blade forward. A spear is a long shaft of wood or metal with a sharp tip, and it can be thrown straight at an opponent. It has the best range of any thrown missile. We don't have a javelin here, but functionally, we're treating it as a javelin, a spear, right? Holy water. This is water which has been specially prepared by a cleric for use against undead creatures. It can be used by any character. Holy water must be kept in the small, specially prepared glass bottles, known as vials, for it to remain holy. The effect of one vial of holy water on an undead creature is 1 to 8 points of damage. For it to cause damage, it must successfully strike the target, thus breaking the vial. It may either be thrown, using missile fire rules, or used hand-to-hand, using normal combat rules, which means you're basically just trying to, smash the vial into the target. Just go, right? Or maybe you're uncorking it and just flinging it into the undead creature, and if you miss, you just kind of missed, I guess. Oil is carried in small bottles known as flasks. and is often thrown as missiles. It may also be spread on the floor. In either case, it will be slippery but not dangerous until it is lit by flame. One flask of oil will make a pool 3 feet in diameter, which will burn out in one turn if lit. Burning oil will cause 1 to 8 points of damage per round to victims in the flames, including any creature trying to cross a pool of burning oil. Oil thrown at a creature will either miss, forming a pool where it falls, or hit. If it hits, it will drip off in a few rounds. If lit, the victim will take damage for 2 rounds at most. Oil may be lit with any flame, such as a torch. If a torch is thrown at a creature, another hit roll must be made, but the creature's normal AC is not used. The target of any thrown torch is treated as AC 10, regardless of the actual armor class of the target, but the roll is adjusted as explained below. As with holy water, oil may be used either as a missile or in hand-to-hand combat. Missile fire hit roll modifications. Missile fire rules are used when the target is 5 feet away or more. Normal combat rules are used if the target is within 5 feet. A missile fire device will automatically miss a target within 5 feet unless the target cannot move. When your character tries to use any type of missile fire, adjust your normal hit roll for the following things. 1. Dexterity. 2. Range. 3. Cover. 4. Magic. So 1. Dexterity. Include any bonuses or penalties to your hit roll due to high or low dexterity. You may have an adjustment from -3 to +3 depending on your dexterity score, as given by the bonuses and penalties for ability scores chart on page 50. Range. A weapon can only be thrown or shot to the longest distance on the chart. This is called the weapon's range. For example, you can't throw a spear any further than 60 feet. And no adjustment is made for strength or size. We're not getting that detailed. It's just 60 feet for throwing spears, regardless of who you are. Okay? Doesn't matter if it's the halfling or Grogar the Strong, right? Doesn't matter. Ask your DM what the range up to the target is in feet. The DM may prefer to give you a general range instead of the exact distance, and you may ask which missile weapon you are using. I would think you would know which missile weapon you're using, but that's fine. If the range is short, you add 1 to your hit roll. If the distance to the target is medium range, it says is between the numbers given for the short and medium ranges, there is no adjustment. If the distance to the target is greater than the number given for the medium range, but still within the maximum range, you must subtract 1 from your 2 hit roll. The bonus and penalty are noted on the chart as a reminder. Thus, a crossbow can shoot further than any other weapon, and an axe or dagger can only be thrown at a nearby target. I'm just going to come back here and point out that the crossbow only has a range of 180, while the longbow has 210. But maybe they're thinking of a heavy crossbow, which isn't on here. So, 3. Cover. The enemy may be harder to hit because it is hiding behind something. This is called cover. Cover could be gained by hiding behind a table or chair, or a tree, or a boulder outdoors. A shield does not provide cover. If cover is used, your DM should mention that the monster has cover and will apply penalties to your chances to hit. You should always be told if the monster has cover, but you might not know how many penalties apply. These penalties are determined by the DM and range from -1 for partial cover to -4 for full cover. Do we describe those cover levels? I don't think we do. Picture in your mind something that's like to mid-thigh as like a partial cover, or maybe you're standing behind like a medium-sized tree and just kind of edging around it. But think all the way up to you're behind like a car-sized boulder, right? That you'd be pretty hard to hit if you were occasionally sticking your head out, maybe over a parapet. 4. Magic. If you are under a magic spell which helps your chances to hit, that applies here. If you're in your adventures, you may discover magical missiles, arrows, crossbow bolts, and so forth, and bonuses from such magic also apply to your hit roll. Also, if you get like a magic missile device, let's say you had a bow and a magic arrow, you get both of those to hit bonuses. Variable weapon damage. Whenever you hit a monster in your adventures, so far, your character's weapon inflicted 1d6 points of damage. But if we consider the battle realistically, a dagger would do less damage than a sword, for example. This advanced damage system allows different weapons to inflict different amounts of damage. The damage done by each weapon type is given on the chart below. Some weapons can only be properly used with 2 hands. These are noted with an asterisk. The large amount of damage done by two-handed weapons is balanced by 2 penalties. The attacker cannot use a shield and will always lose the initiative. Whatever the roll may be, whatever the roll may be. The lack of a shield will reduce the character's armor class, while the weapon being used, unless of course no shield was used in the first place. So even if your side won the initiative, you're still losing the initiative for that particular character, even without playing individual initiative. Keep that in mind. And that's the downside of like wielding the battle axe, which, only does 1d8 points of damage, so you might as well just use the normal sword on a practical basis. Meanwhile, the pole arm or two-handed sword does 1 to 10, but again, you got to use both hands there. So at least that's one way to get higher potential damage. And obviously, those missile devices are generally two-handed weapons, like, long or short bows and crossbows, right? But as you can see, clubs, first time we've seen a club mentioned, by the way, clubs, daggers, and slingstones and torches are 1d4 points of damage for just swinging around hitting things with them. 1d6 would be arrows, hand axes, maces, quarrels, which are like arrows but for crossbows, short swords, spears, warhammers. 1d8 for the normal sword or the battle axe, and 1 to 10 for the pole arm of various types. Trust me, Gary liked his pole arms, but they're just not in this version of the game just yet. And two-handed swords. Combat maneuvers. The following special forms of defensive movement are usable by any character in hand-to-hand combat. They may also be used by monsters. If a player wants to use one of these maneuvers, he or she must say so before rolling for initiative. These maneuvers may not be used if not declared before that roll. If a character is near a battle but is not fighting hand-to-hand, that character may move normally. The movement rate depends on the amount of weight carried, as explained in the section on encumbrance. Any monster or character using a maneuver explained hereafter is called the defender. The opponent is called the attacker. So, first one, fighting withdrawal. If a defender is engaged in combat and wishes to back up slowly while fighting, the maneuver is called a fighting withdrawal. The defender must have room to back up. In crowded situations, those behind the defender will get in the way, preventing the maneuver from succeeding. If room permits, the defender may move at 1/2 the normal movement rate or less. The attacker may follow and continue attacking, but the defender may attack in return. Retreat. If a defender wants to back out of a fight at more than 1/2 normal movement rate, the maneuver is called a retreat. The attacker gains a +2 bonus on all hit rolls, and the defender's AC is calculated without a shield. The defender may not attack in return. Example. Huxley is a fighter wearing plate mail armor and a shield, AC 2. He opens a door and is attacked by a gargoyle. He has heard that gargoyles can only be hit by magic weapons, and he is only normal ones. At the moment, he is blocking the doorway. He tries to use a fighting withdrawal so other characters can get into the battle. As he is backing up, the gargoyle wounds him badly. He decides to retreat to survive. The gargoyle attacks him as he runs, gaining a +2 bonus on his chances to hit, AC 3. Huxley's AC without the shield. Again, it was 2 with the shield. And the shield is worth 1 point of armor class. Paired combat. When you begin a battle, both sides roll for initiative. This one roll has applied to everyone on each side. Your DM may choose for small battles to determine initiative for each monster or character instead. of the whole group. When this is done, each player rolls for initiative, adjusting the roll by dexterity bonuses or penalties as given on the following table. The DM will roll for each monster involved in actual combat, adjusting the roll if the monster is very slow or very fast. Most monsters have no adjustment to paired combat. One other initiative roll may be needed for other monsters not in hand-to-hand combat, if any, compared to the similar roll for characters not engaged in a battle. So here's our dexterity adjustment table. It's very typical, except it goes -2 for 3. 4 to 5 and 6 to 8 are -1. 9 to 12 is no adjustment. 13 to 15 and 16 to 17 are +1 adjustment to your initiative, and 18 is +2 to your initiative. Encumbrance, which, yeah. There have been no rules in your games thus far dealing with the amount a character can carry. You have been allowed to pick up as much treasure as you can find and take it home. This can become silly, if allowed to continue. Your characters may eventually find vast dragon hoards of thousands of coins weighing hundreds of pounds, and the DM should not permit you to pick it all up and walk out. Encumbrance is the name for the amount of weight that your character is carrying. The more you can carry, the slower you move, according to the following chart. One new abbreviation is used. One coin of treasure, whatever the type, GP, EP, so forth, weighs about 1/10 of a pound. Since coins are the commonest treasures, the coin, not the pound, becomes the simplest unit of weight. From now on, the weight of all treasures, equipment, and so forth will be measured in coins, abbreviated CN. So, yeah, if something weighs 100 pounds, that's 1,000 coins. Keep that in mind. Encumbered movement rates. Normal speed is used when your characters are walking through a dungeon. Encounter speed is used whenever time is kept in rounds, such as during a battle. Running speed is used whenever a party is running away from an encounter. Time is still kept in rounds rather than turns, but the party must rest afterwards. See movement on page 56. Basic encumbrance. If a character is wearing no armor or merely leather armor and carrying the normal equipment taken on adventure, the basic encumbrance is 300 coins, about 30 pounds. That type of character can pick up 100 coins and still be able to use the top line of the chart. If more treasure is carried, the rest of the table is used to finding movement rate. All that equipment you buy also has encumbrance measurements, so you can fine-tune this instead of just assuming 300 coins. But it's up to you how detailed you want to get with encumbrance, really. A lot of people kind of hand-wave a lot of encumbrance unless something major comes up, and then they start making judgments on the fly. Because in the end, a lot of people just don't find this fun. But your mileage may vary, as it were. Carrying on. If a character is wearing metal armor, whether chainmail or plate mail, and carrying other normal equipment, the basic encumbrance is 700 coins. The character moves at 90 feet per turn and may pick up 100 coins and still use that line in the chart. A character carrying more than 2,400 coins, 240 pounds, cannot move. Something must be dropped or given to other characters. And again, no adjustment is being made for strength here, which you would think would be a relative factor in how much you can carry around. And I will point out to you, let's see you carry 220 pounds worth of stuff and still move around effectively. Because apparently you can still move, admittedly at a reduced rate, with 230 pounds of stuff on you. If any of you familiar with how soldiers are equipped, you can stop laughing. It's okay. This is a fantasy game, but really, 240 pounds of stuff as your point where you can't move around, it's both a lot and not very much. It is an astounding amount of stuff to be carrying for a regular person, but I imagine Grognar the Strong, with his 18 strength, should be able to carry a lot more, especially if he's used to it. Using encumbrance. Find the basic encumbrance of your character as explained above and write it on the back of your character sheet under equipment. Remember to add to it whenever you pick up any treasure. Your DM will tell you how many coins are found. A gem is counted as 1 coin, and other treasures, potions, jewelry, and so forth, are counted as 10 coins each. A more detailed system of encumbrance, calculating the weight of each piece of equipment, will be given in the D&D Expert set, but remember that the fun of the game comes from role-playing, not bookkeeping, and your DM may merely wish to use simple system for determining encumbrance. Boy howdy. Containers. Your character could not possibly carry even a few hundred coins unless they were placed in a sack or a backpack. These items will hold, small sack, 200 coins, 20 pounds. Backpack, 40 coins, 40 pounds. Large sack, 60 coins, 60 pounds. 600 coins, I mean. Mules. Funny we say mules, but saddlebags may also be used if your DM allows mules to be bought. A saddlebag will hold 1,000 coins. A mule normally moves at the same rate as a character, 120 feet per turn, and can carry up to 3,000 coin while doing so. A mule may carry 6,000 coins at most, which cuts its movement rate in half. And boy, maybe that's a job for a retainer, right? Look, retainers. Well, we already read that part. And now we're going to quickly go through the glossary just to make sure I didn't really miss anything here. But, yeah, alignment, we did that. Armor class, yep, collar, character level, charge. Then in this case, we're talking about the magical energy you needed to use a wand once, not charging something, or, in a sense of like charging at something, or even like charging something on your credit card. No, although there's something close to the magical wand in that aspect. Class, character, coin, concentration. Again, the concept of the character putting all his attention into a single object or action and being unable to do anything else. Cover, anything except a shield that hides behind to gain protection from a missile attack. CP for copper pieces, the various die acronyms, damage, demi-human, dungeon, dungeon level, dungeon master, duration, effect, encounter, encumbrance, we just talked about that. EP for electrum pieces, there are 2 EP per gold piece, they're like 50-cent pieces. Electrum is technically this amalgam of gold and silver. Evasion, fleeing from a monster. Experience level, experience points or XP. Fighting withdrawal. GP, gold piece, hit dice. Hit points, hit roll, infravision, initiative, key. Information used by the DM that describes what is found in a dungeon and what the dungeon looks like. Well, that's certainly one meaning of key. Lair, monster's home or renoust. Melee, missile fire, monster level, morale, NPC or non-player character, percentage dice or D percentage, which is just over here. Player character, PP for platinum piece. Everyone laugh again. Thank you. Prime requisites, quarrel, which is basically a bolt. It's a shaft fired from a crossbow. It's functionally the arrows of crossbows, quarrels. So are bolts. What you want to use, up to you. Range, retainer, saving throw, secret door, SP for silver piece, spell level, and turn undead. And hey, look, it's the adverts again and the character sheet. That's us through the entire book. Yeah. Again, this is one of my favorite editions of the game, and this is a great way to introduce the game to somebody, especially on their own. It is, however, not a great reference for playing the game. The compendium is a much better reference for playing the game, and if you're familiar with the game, making your characters, etc., than using the individual box sets, because it gets a little unwieldy looking around and finding bits and pieces and whatnot and where you need to be as you move forward. I have a deep love for this box set. These books are great. And I would not have had this hobby if it wasn't for these things, probably. This was my first role-playing game. And, my life is different for it, and I think better. that's been my read through and interpretation of various things in these book found in these books, and I appreciate you spending the time with me on this. And yeah, again, I want to thank you all for your attention and time. I know you have a lot of things you could be doing in your life, and you don't need to be listening to me. I appreciate you choosing to do so. Uh, if you like the content I gave you, please make sure you give me a like. I really would appreciate it. It gives me some, not to be shallow, but some sense of gratification for the work I put into this. Admittedly minimal, as I didn't edit anything. But, I did put some time into making these videos and making sure I was ready to do this again. And, you guys and gals out there in TV land, well, YouTube land, you guys make it worthwhile, right? I set out to do this for myself, and that is true. But seeing engagement reminded me just how much I actually liked engagement. And I want to thank everyone who ever commented or liked on my posts. As you guys are the real MVPs of my channel. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Goodbye.